Ciao a tutti! A question that I know many students have is this. Is it ever possible to stop translating in your head and start thinking in Italian directly? Assolutamente sì. But as with everything, it takes intentional practice to retrain your brain. So that's exactly what we're going to talk about today. When you start learning Italian, it's totally normal to begin by translating from your native language, for example, from English to Italian. So this works this way. You think of a phrase in English first, then translate it word by word in Italian, and only after you've done that, you start speaking. But of course, the normal result of this process is that speaking Italian this way, it becomes quite slow and it can be pretty stressful and oftentimes even incorrect because you cannot translate everything literally from your native language to Italian. Now, even though this is normal, absolutely normal, it doesn't mean that it has to stay like this forever. So first, let's see why this happens, and then we're going to see how to fix this problem. Now, the simple reason this happens is that your brain is not used to using Italian directly. So if you always go through English first when you want to speak Italian, your brain never learns to connect ideas directly to Italian words. So translation becomes a habit, and it's that habit that slows you down every time you speak. But if this is a habit of the brain, it means that we can absolutely change it, like you would change any other habit. So the solution here is simple. We need to retrain the brain to start using Italian directly in small, controlled ways. This training will create an inner switch, kind of an inner switch in your brain. And when you turn on that switch, quando accendi l'interruttore, your brain will know that it's time to start working, kind of to start to operate in Italian. So let me show you 3 techniques that you can start using immediately, and they will retrain your brain to think in Italian directly. Tecnica numero uno, speak to yourself. Now, this is something that I always encourage students to start doing from day one. Don't know any grammar rules or you don't know any conjugations yet? Nessun problema. Just point at things that you see and say them out loud like kids do. So, la sedia, il tavolo, il libro. Bravissimo! If you cheer on kids for doing that, why shouldn't you do the same for yourself? So start doing this immediately, even if you're on day one of your Italian learning journey. Now, if you are more advanced in your journey, then what you can do is that you start describing those same things. So you don't just point at them and name them, but you actually try to describe what the thing is or describe what you are doing and do that out loud. So do all of this out loud. It's really important for retraining your brain. So, for example, instead of just saying il libro, you could just say a more articulated phrase like il libro è aperto. The book is open. Or you could describe what you're doing with the book. Per esempio, sto leggendo un libro. I am reading a book. What I want you to do is to keep it simple. You don't need complex sentences. The goal is not perfection. The goal is to create the habit of thinking and speaking in Italian. Numero 2, consume a lot of content in Italian, but at your level. Now, you really need to immerse yourself in the language in order for your brain to kind of start soaking it in. But if the content is too difficult, your brain will automatically go back to translating to your native language because it's too much for the brain. But if what you are consuming is simple and clear, then you start understanding it directly. And that's when this shift begins. So, for example, if you are a total beginner, Just listen to vocabulary and short phrases. Read very simple books. Even children's books are great for that. If you are an upper beginner or intermediate student, then slow, short audios with simple dialogues and short stories are good fit for you. And if you are an upper, intermediate, or advanced, then you can definitely listen to podcasts, TV shows, and read real Italian books, not books for students. Now, the key is this: put something into your brain regularly, something Italian in your brain regularly, and it will start absorbing it and creating new connections directly in Italian without passing for English. Numero tre, write in Italian. Writing is a workout for your brain. It literally trains you to think in the language. I've personally been keeping a journal in English for more than a decade, and that's the most effective thing I've ever done for retraining my brain and start thinking directly in the language. So that's why I always tell you, please write in Italian and write every day. Start small, even just a couple of sentences, but please do it because it works wonders. It is a workout for your brain. Now, when writing a few sentences becomes more natural, then just challenge yourself to do it a little bit more. Add a few sentences. Aim for half a page, for example, of your notebook. Just keep increasing gradually how much you do it, like you would at the gym with your workout. Once you feel that something is too easy for you, then try to make it a little bit more challenging. And now I would love to know if you notice that you translate everything in your head when you speak Italian, or if you are already starting to think directly in Italian sometimes. Let me know in the comments. I love to hear about your experience. Now, what I want you to remember is this: you don't stop translating overnight. Don't expect that. This is a gradual process. But every time, even if it's a little bit, that you use your Italian directly, even in a very simple and basic way as pointing at things and naming them, all those times you are training your brain in the right direction. And these techniques that I'm teaching you today are the same I use myself to train my brain to think in English. Per attivare l'interruttore, remember the switch? And these are the same techniques that I've been teaching to my students for years. They work, but they have one essential requirement: you need to actually use them. So start small, start slow, but just start and be consistent, and you will see your results. And in case you want some more practical help with training your brain to think in Italian, and you're looking for some exposure to simple, real Italian using context, then my Italian Short Stories Club might help. The Italian Short Stories Club is my online program where you read and listen to engaging short stories written specifically for beginner and intermediate students, so you can understand Italian directly without translating. You see how sentences are built, you hear how they sound, and little by little, your brain starts thinking in Italian automatically. So, if you want to try it, you can access the first chapter for free. You will find the link in the description below this video. Now, one more tip that can really help you with this problem of translating from your native language to Italian. Here it is: repetition works great in this case. So this is the same as with songs. You listen to songs multiple times because you like them, and you end up memorizing them because they get stuck in your head. Likewise, you don't need 100 different things to consume or to write or to talk about in Italian. For the purpose of training your brain, even if you listen to the same thing or read the same book over and over again, it still works perfectly, if not even better. And I can attest that because I've done the same with my English. I read Jane Austen's novels, Jane Austen's books, I think 100 times. I still keep reading them because I love them, but also they are still a great training for my brain to absorb those English structure and being able to reuse them directly in my mind when I want to speak in English. So please remember, start small, be consistent, and thinking in Italian will come naturally to you. That's all for today, è tutto per oggi, ci vediamo al prossimo video. Ciao da Valentina.